Good evening and welcome to the first episode of the second season of Lemon Cakes. We're taking over for the Waffle for a bit due to various illnesses and absences. And we give you the slightly surprising but not very surprising news that David Moyes, having replaced a manager who was there for almost 30 decades, hasn't really managed to last the year and has been sacked. By tweet, effectively, was the first revelation that he'd gone. Just a sort of 32 summary. It was a bit like being dumped by text, I would say. On the show this evening, we have all the way from the Waffle, Mac Forsyth, to give his esteemed views, and we have a Manchester United fan in Steve Gibbard, who made his debut on the Waffle a couple of weeks ago. Good to have you both here, gentlemen. First of all, and I'll put it to Steve first, obviously there weren't many great moments, but what was his best moment as a Manchester United manager, if he had one?
If he had one? Now you're asking. I think, looking back at it, I think it was brave for him to take on the role. I think that's ballsy. I think that's quite a great moment to take on a role like that after what was left for him. But I think getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League after having the run-in that he had in the Premier League and stuff like that, or the Charity Shield, that was quite an achievement. He won a trophy. How about that?
He beat Wigan. Man City couldn't manage it, but he did.
Yeah, exactly. See, he's 100% better than Manuel Pellegrini.
Absolutely. Hasn't got as cool a name though. Mac, what do you think was his best moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think Steve touched on it there with the Champions League, the 5-0 victory. Was it Borussia Dortmund they beat? It was one of the German sides.
It wasn't Dortmund. Leverkusen, that's it.
Leverkusen, yeah. 5-0 win over Leverkusen.
Yeah.
To put it back in that round of 16 as well, when they were 2-0 down from the first leg to go and win 3-0 in the home leg was certainly an achievement.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, go on, mate.
So I think they did have performances under Moyes, but unfortunately he's not been left. The players didn't turn up all the time. They turned up when it mattered. But when it didn't matter, they didn't really seem interested.
I was going to say, is the away form of Manchester United, I think they topped the league away from home. So, on to the next question. Would you say it's the home form, Mac, that's been his Achilles heel this season?
I think the number of games they've lost at home has certainly been a factor. I mean, you look at the number of teams that have never won at Old Trafford or haven't won for 20, 30 odd years in that. West Brom beat them there. Spurs got another victory over them. They've not beaten Man City in any games this season. So I think certainly the home defeats have cost them. And as well as obviously it's the theatre of dreams, and it had this reputation of being the place where if you're 1-0 up, if the away team was 1-0 up into the sort of the 89th minute, you would have injury time until Man United won it effectively, and that's gone.
Would you agree, Steve? Would you say that the abolition of Fergie time is what did it?
Nah, no one looked clinical enough up front. It was a case of we didn't seem to have that fear factor. Of course, Fergie time, always the pun, but that's what Fergie brought, was the animosity of the team and the fear that they brought. I mean, if you look at Liverpool now, they've only lost one game at home. Before they were nothing for about 3 or 4 seasons, and they sort of just come out of nowhere because they provide that fear factor at home. And that's something that Man U had for 20 years and don't have anymore. Like I said, Newcastle, I think, Mac, you mentioned it earlier, the way he went into an interview for a home game at Newcastle saying, we'll be looking for a result. I'm like, no, you're at the theatre of dreams. You get a result. You don't look for one.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I think the quote he put in the program there was, "We're going to try and get a result today," which against Newcastle isn't. You expect a result against Newcastle nowadays. You certainly don't try.
At home, for Man U, at Man U, at home, you expect a result from any team. It doesn't matter if it's Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, or if it's Norwich, West Ham, Sunderland, Fulham. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Got a little bonus question for both of you. This is a season where both Everton and Liverpool have done the double over Manchester United. When was the last time that happened?
Oh. It's never happened in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's.
It must have been like 1985, roughly.
Mac, any guesses?
I might go 89.
Well, it was a bit of a trick question. It's actually never happened. It's the first time ever that Everton and Liverpool have done the double over Manchester United.
Wait, another record for Moyes.
Mac, I mean, where next for David Moyes? Does he try and get another managerial job? Does he go abroad? Does he try and manage an international team? What do you reckon?
I mean, it's tricky. I mean, to see sort of where he would fit in at the minute. I mean, Hodgson did all right. After he went to Liverpool, it didn't work out there. He went back to West Brom, which was sort of in brackets, his level. Had success there, and then obviously went on to the England job. I think that would be the next step with Moyes is to go somewhere which isn't a sort of top 5 club, but to build again from the bottom. Somewhere where there will be the expectations won't be as high. So, I mean, and what has also undone Moyes this year as well is the success Roberto Martinez has had at Everton. 11 years at Everton, they were always. They always did all right on a shoestring budget, but he could never beat Man United. Martinez has come in, beaten them twice. They're playing fantastic football. I mean, they may even get into the top 4. And they may sort of be preferred to the top 4 than Arsenal. Whereas under Moyes, if they got in top 4, it's because they had worked hard for it rather than playing the best football.
It's certainly true. What do you reckon, Steve? Where next for the Scotsman?
I think he's going to need to take some time out. It's going to be late in the summer before he gets a job, probably. I wouldn't be too surprised if Norwich stay up, that he takes that role. I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham approach him, if they can't get Van Gaal,
Please no.
that is a possibility. I mean, I'm not obviously. Tottenham have always been the same sort of level as Everton, kind of scraping that top 4 position, but not quite getting there. And that's the sort of thing. I think he'll stay in the Premier League. It's the only thing he knows. Or I don't see him going international. I think England have bigger and better prospects in mind for after Hodgson. And there's no sort of international teams other than Scotland, maybe that might take him, or Ireland, possibly Wales as a last resort. But other than that, I think he'll go to somewhere like Tottenham, another scraping team that will once again, they'll happily work with Moyes on a budget kind of thing.
Okay. Moving on. Who do you think is likely to replace David Moyes? Put that to Steve first.
Speculation today. Pep Guardiola was one of them, and so was Jurgen Klopp. Both of them have said no.
Good start.
That was pretty. Yeah, that's already that. But I think the obvious choice is Van Gaal. He's been tipped for a while. Obviously Ryan Giggs has taken over now, but I think Ryan Giggs needs to stop playing and actually spend some time with the team for a few years before he starts looking at a full-time management position. But yeah, definitely Van Gaal would be my choice.
Mac, would you go along with that?
I'll get Ian Holloway, Chris. I want attacking football. They need a personality in it. I think Ian Holloway's the way forward.
Well, they'll have to pay Millwall handsomely to do that.
I think Van Gaal's certainly looking like it. Apparently, he did actually go and meet Man United executives 10 days ago to talk about whatever. But yeah, I mean, Van Gaal certainly obviously fits the frame. Klopp, it appears, is loyal to Borussia Dortmund, so he won't be going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, they will. I think by getting rid of Moyes though after less than a season, I think they could very sort of open themselves up to how sort of Chelsea and Man City have sort of become the last couple of years, where it's sort of a rotation every 2 years. Get somebody in, have the success. Second season, they finish second or third, out with the manager, in with someone new. Yeah, I mean, or in a bizarre twist, Fergie to come back.
Surely not.
If he's going to come back, I'd only want him to come back just to make the signings, because it's the thing that Man U failed on was making proper impacting signings. I mean, everyone else did throughout the summer, and then he came along.
I mean, really what they should have done was put sort of AVB in to sign the players over summer and then let Moyes carry on, because if there's one thing we know, it's AVB can sign a couple of good players but never get the best out of them, and then the next manager will do all right with them.
Yeah, so it's not Mourinho then. You don't see him being tempted from Chelsea?
No. I wouldn't want him anyway.
I think after they snubbed him for it last year, I don't think he would go there.
Fair enough. Can you think of other circumstances where a new boss has tried to replace a sort of historic figure and it hasn't worked out? Mac?
Historic figure? Let's see, Glenn Hoddle after George Graham. Tottenham legend replacing an Arsenal legend.
Yes.
I mean, on the flip side of that, Brendan Rodgers after Kenny Dalglish.
Yes.
Kenny Dalglish, Liverpool manager, was popular with the fans. King Kenny. But they were struggling. Rodgers has come in. They finished 7th last season. Don't forget. But the performance was there. They just weren't getting the luck of the green. And then this year they've been flying. He seems to have got that squad set up right without. He did all his overhauling last year, sort of tweaked it, and then this year they've been away. Whereas at Man United, I think the big mistake was not actually signing anybody, not really sort of making any overhaul in the summer.
I think it was Fellaini they bought, wasn't it?
Fellaini being the only signing. If he'd bought sort of about 4 to 5 players in, he would have. I think he would have got longer, because he said, look. We're getting the squad in shape. There is an overhaul going on here. But to keep faith with the championship team that won the title last year, who, frankly, last year were past it. They only won the title because everybody else mucked up more.
Yeah.
They were the best team.
Steve, what do you reckon? Historic figures trying to be replaced and it's gone wrong.
I think Mac pretty much touched on it mostly. There's no one I can think of at Chelsea that would make a difference, other than maybe Mourinho. He's a pretty historic figure, but I think, Pep Guardiola in Spain, for Barcelona, the person that took him over hasn't won anything after Pep Guardiola pretty much won everything in his path. I think Pep Guardiola, if given the chance, may go back to Barcelona in the future just to sort of just say, look, I can do it again, kind of thing.
In the defence of his successor, he did get cancer halfway through his first season and had to go off for treatment. So
it's not ideal, is it?
Excuses.
The guy after him, who's now in charge, is obviously had gone with the issues. But it's Tito somebody was Guardiola's replacement, but he unfortunately had cancer. So,
well, I suppose that is unfortunate.
Yeah, looking at I think this is the first time in almost 20 years, maybe not 20, but certainly a while, that Barcelona and or Real Madrid might not win a Liga, which is quite stunning, really.
And
have a striker like Diego Costa, who might be going to Chelsea, you're going to win prizes.
Let's backtrack a couple of questions as well. Diego Simeone, the Atletico Madrid manager, is one of the names for United.
I heard that. I did hear that, and I was like, if he could come over and bring Diego Costa with him, I'd be more than happy. More than happy.
Don't think you get David Beckham visiting Old Trafford in that case, though, would you?
No, but he's got his own place in Miami now, so who cares?
That's true. And sort of to flip it all round, obviously David Moyes will not be winning Premier League Manager of the Year. Who do you think the award should go to and why? Steve?
Well, I've got three names. Tony Pulis, for the phenomenal job that he's done at Crystal Palace. They were a team that looked like they were going to go down, and now they're top 10, almost. So that's unbelievable turnaround for a manager who's never been relegated. On the other side, you can't look any further than the two Merseyside managers, Brendan Rodgers and Robert Martinez, simply because they've turned two teams around completely. Liverpool finishing 7th last season, Everton in the same position, but they looked more threatening in top 4. They've provided the best football out of the whole season, and I think it'll go to Brendan Rodgers in the final, just simply because of what he's done to Liverpool.
Fair enough. Mac, any other names you can think of?
Well, given 9 of them have been sacked this season, it hardly stands out as a vintage year for managers. But I think I have to agree with Steve on Tony Pulis. He's come in at the moment. Palace are 11th in the league. They're 13 points off the relegation zone. To put that in perspective with United, they're only 14 points behind Manchester United in 7th. They're pretty much equidistant from United and relegation, which is how far he's brought that squad up.
Could be Europe next year with the form they've got. I'm quite glad I got Jay.
That's not good. There's a bit of a joke. That is a very funny joke. Don't be too silly. Tony Pulis will be always a non-relegating team.
Yeah, it is quite incredible because I think they've been the side that's been promoted the most to the Premier League. Crystal Palace. I think this is the 5th time they've been promoted, and every other single time they've been relegated straight back down. They've never managed to. This is the first season they're actually going to survive. Which is quite balmy. You wonder what the other managers got wrong.
I can't think who was managing last time, but I know that it was the season where they had Grigor Kirali?
Gabor Kiraly, yes.
Gabor Kiraly.
With the baggy pants.
With the jogging bottoms. And then up front they had one Andy Johnson who knocked in about 20 goals.
Mainly from falling over in the penalty box a lot.
And winning penalties, yeah.
I think it was Ian Dowie. I want to say Ian Dowie was the man.
Yeah, Ian Dowie, that's the one. But to be fair, Tony Pulis managed to get Marouane Chamakh to score in the Premier League season. I think that's an achievement.
Even Arsene Wenger couldn't do that.
No.
I know.
No, I think Steve Bruce should be get a mention for the fact that he's, kept Hull up and got them to their first FA Cup final ever. I think he's sort of a bit of a dark horse.
I think, moving on to that, player of the season, Sturridge or Suarez for me.
If David Moyes hasn't been the worst Premier League manager this season, who has been? Mac?
The worst?
The worst.
Well, I think the people that are actually running Fulham. Get rid of Martin Yole, go, right, it's not working, we're going to put René Malmsteen in charge. He's not working either. I guess get Felix Magath in. Then, of course, you've got the manager, you've got Vincent Tan at Cardiff, let's face it, he's running the squad. Well, we've got a manager that's doing all right, so we'll fire him because he won't let me pick the team. We'll put Solskjaer in. Of course, you've got Di Canio at Sunderland, who pretty much hacked off the entire team after about 3 matches of the season.
Yep.
Then obviously you've got the bright sparks at Norwich, who decided to fire Chris Shelton a couple of games from the end of the season, despite the fact Norwich are where Norwich perform. Really, they've not got the best squad in the league. No. If you can compare Houghton to sort of the job Moyes was doing, Norwich aren't, expected to sort of finish around that sort of 15th area, which is where they are at the minute. They could still go down, whereas David Moyes took over a championship-winning squad and took them to 7th.
Yeah.
So, it's harsh for Houghton to get fired before Moyes, really.
Yeah. Although, bear in mind, he did sign the less than prolific Ricky Van Wolfswinkel for, I think it was about £8 million. And he hasn't scored since the opening day, so...
That is true, but then Gary Hooper's been amongst the goals, the other side.
Yeah, that's true.
one's worked, one hasn't, and you never know. Next year, Van Wolfswinkel might kick on, but
yes, this is true.
Houghton kept faith with him, and sadly, he couldn't get the goals to repay him.
Steve, who's your pick for worst manager this season in the Premier League?
Well, obviously, other than the ones that Mac have touched on, but maybe other ones that haven't been sacked. Alan Pardew.
Yeah.
It's been pretty terrible. Headbutting Mailer is not a really highlight of the season, if I'm honest. And he's had a decent squad. He's not got a terrible squad. He's just not bringing anything out of them. So I'd say him, if anyone. Yeah. That's actually managed to stay a whole season.
Their form in the second since 2014 has not been great. It has it. I think it's 12.
Well, they're finishing below Southampton by the looks of things. And they're Southampton are about where they should be this season. Newcastle should be challenging for top 5. They should have that ability. But definitely below par, most definitely. As that, or Arsene Wenger if he doesn't finish outside the top 4, or if he finishes outside the top 4. Really.
Yes. Yeah, I think for Newcastle, do we just put it down to the fact that Johan Gibbard has been sold and that Remy's been out for a bit, or?
There's something going on behind the scenes at Newcastle. At the start of the season, it was can't think of his name now. They brought in the director of football.
Was it Joe Kinnear?
Oh,
Joe Kinnear. Yes, the angry shouty man. They brought Joe Kinnear in. And you look, they've sold Gibbard. They've made 2 loan signings. When Newcastle were doing well, they were signing. They're linking up with France, signing all these French players in. Now all of a sudden, you've got 2 loan signings. Players have gone out, but nobody's coming to replace them. Demba Ba left. Cissé's not really found form anymore. But there's no, not even any talk of a replacement striker or for Gibbard. It's very unusual. And to bring a director of football in who's to deal with the transfers, who doesn't sign, Joe Kinnear's entire time there, he didn't sign 1 player. No,
not good. Just finishing off this football-related episode, just looking at relegation and promotion. Mac and Steve, Mac first, who are your 3 to go down, and what do you think about Leicester and Burnley, how they'll do next season, and who do you think will join them?
Oh, right. So looking at the table at the minute, Sunderland have still got the game in hand. That could be important. If they can win that, they'll definitely be with a shout, because their goal difference is slightly better than Norwich.
I think they're home to West Brom that game in hand, so that could be very interesting.
Could be, yes.
West Brom are only 3 points clear of safety themselves, so if Sunderland win that drags another team into it.
Fulham have looked like coming back the last couple of weeks, but they played one against Spurs despite losing 3-1. I think goal difference is going to go against them, so I can see Cardiff are definitely going down, I feel.
Yeah.
Fulham as well. And I think Norwich will go down, because I think sacking Houghton, they picked the wrong. They fired him, put a sort of a coach in. Yeah. It's not inspiring. It sort of just smacks of laziness.
Yeah.
So I think Norwich will go down as well. So Fulham, Cardiff, and Norwich.
So Sunderland to complete their escape. What about Sunderland? What about Leicester and Burnley? What do you make of them? Their chances for next season?
I don't know too much about them. Burnley seem to be doing all right. Leicester as well have been sort of working hard for a good few years. They've got a good goalkeeper in Schmeichel.
Yeah.
In terms of the playoffs, Derby have been strong all year, and they've got the goal difference in their favour really. Whether Redknapp at QPR, whether his experience will come into it, they've got a good chance. I'm not sure about Brighton. I can't see Brighton doing it. But then obviously in the last couple of games, Nottingham Forest or Ipswich could still get up.
Yeah, I think the last 2 places are still very much up for grabs.
But I think having been there before, I think Redknapp will get QPR over the line.
Fair enough. He's got Charlie Austin back at a good time, I guess.
Especially Charlie Austin, who was banging in all the goals when they were leading the table earlier.
Steve, who do you tip for the drop?
Well, I'm first one Norwich. Their run-in is Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal. So that's
It's not ideal, is it?
So it's 3 points against United then.
Yeah. No, Giggs is going to give us a new lease of life. But no, Norwich, Fulham, and it really does depend on who wins the match between Sunderland and Cardiff, really. That's sort of the next big game for the drop. If Cardiff win, which I can see them doing, then I'll see that they stay up. So I'll probably go Norwich, Fulham, Sunderland. I don't think West Brom, Villa, Hull, Swansea have anything to worry about, really. Throughout the remaining of the games. So that's a 3 going down for me. Going up, I've been keeping an eye on Leicester for most of the season, along with Burnley. So Burnley have some of the best up and coming young talent that I've seen in a while, with Danny Ings and Sam Vokes and stuff like that. Even with their defense, with Shackle and stuff like that. Future England stars if they do well in the Premier League. Leicester obviously have all the players to do the job. As long as they both keep their players, you can't argue with their performance and they should stay up. But with the other 4, I don't see them staying in the Premier League. Maybe Derby will get through the playoffs. I feel they're the more on-form team from what I've seen. But that's just me. I don't think Brighton can stay up, would get through it, let alone stay up in the Premier League. And I say the same, even though Redknapp's got the experience, I don't think he can pull the QPR side, who look a little bit lackluster at the moment at the end of the season.
I have to say, Derby fans be having very mixed emotions about the possibility of going back to the Premier League, because last time didn't really work out, did it?
Yeah, well, didn't they finish on 9 points?
I think they just about scraped double figures, but I think there was 1 win the entire season against Newcastle.
Worst season ever.
Yeah, they lost 6-0 at home to Villa. Spurs, I think, beat them 3 or 4-0. Almost 30.
They've got some retribution. They got a lot to do. But I think that's why they deserve it, really, because it's a pretty poor note to say, last time we were in the Premier League, son, we only won 1 game. Can't imagine old Derby fans ever telling that story too much.
I think Newcastle actually were the only side not to beat Derby that entire season, because Derby drew the other game as well. So it's not a happy statistic for Newcastle fans.
Did Newcastle get relegated that season as well?
It was the season afterwards. I watched them play Spurs, and Alan Shearer was in charge, and they were woeful. Michael Owen was practically anonymous, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, Darren Bent looked more of a fearsome goal scorer than Michael Owen. That was kind of a sign at the times for Newcastle, I think. But, Excellent. Well, thank you very much to my guests, Matt Forsyth and Steve Gibbard, for this football special edition of Lemon Cakes. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.